The case of Lefkowitz versus Great Minneapolis Surplus Store comes to us from the Minnesota Supreme Court, and was decided in the year 1957. And it revolves around this man named Morris Lefkowitz, who I believe can only be fairly described as a man ahead of his time. A man of fashionable taste, and a prototypical metrosexual. And so that brings us to the fateful day of April 6, 1956. And on this day, the Great Minneapolis Surplus Store published in the Minneapolis newspaper following advertisement. Saturday, 9 a.m. sharp. Three brand new fur coats worth up to $100. First come, first served. $1 each. So there's this advertisement that says, come to this store 9 a.m. sharp. We have three brand new fur coats that are worth up to $100. First come, first serve. They're $1 each. And so on Saturday morning, Mr. Lefkowitz wakes up early and arrives, presumably several hours before they opened, and presumably dressed in his most fashionable wear, to take up this offer to purchase a brand new fur coat for $1. And despite having waited in line for hours for the store to open, beating everyone else to the punch, the doorman stops him from entering the store and says, "Ladies only, house rules." And so Mr. Lefkowitz, despite following the advertisement to its word and arriving on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. sharp, being the first in line for these brand new fur coats worth up to $100, is turned away at the door because he is not a woman. And the surplus store says that it's a house rule that only ladies are allowed to purchase these coats. And so defeated and dejected, Mr. Lefkowitz goes home. But as fate would have it, on April 13th, the Great Minneapolis Surplus Store issues another advertisement in the Minneapolis newspaper, and this one says Saturday, 9 a.m. Two brand new pastel mink scarfs worth $89.50, and one black lapin stole worth $139.50 each. $1 first come, first served. And Mr. Lefkowitz sees this advertisement, this second advertisement published in the Minneapolis newspaper, and he reads it carefully. And he notices that in this advertisement and the one on April 6th, nowhere does it say ladies only. And so Mr. Lefkowitz once again arrives at the store early. He is the first one in line. He is once again presumably dressed in his most fashionable menswear. And once again, the doorman stops him. And this time he says, "You know the rules. Ladies only." But this time Mr. Lefkowitz has had enough, and he simply replies, "See you in court." And so once this case gets into court, the Great Minneapolis Surplus Store, wisely does not argue that their advertisement was not a contract offer, because of course there's that carbolic smoke ball case that seems to be on point, and instead the department store argues that what they made, that their advertisement in the newspaper was a unilateral offer, and that as a unilateral offer, it was revocable at will. And in this case, it had been revoked at the door. And so, even though their newspaper advertisement didn't say anything about the offer only being extended to the ladies, that because Mr. Zefkowitz, when he arrived, had not yet accepted the offer, that the offer could be revoked at the door, and therefore there was no contract that was created between the Great Minneapolis Surplus Store and Mr. Zefkowitz. And Mr. Zefkowitz retorts that he accepted this offer in the manner described by the advertisement, by being the first to arrive, first come, first served. And since he had the money in hand and he was the first to arrive, that at that point the contract was accepted, and so the surplus store was liable to sell him the fur coat and the scarves. And so the Minnesota Supreme Court has to decide two issues in this case. And so the first issue is whether is whether Lefkowitz accepted the surplus store's offer before it was revoked, and then the second issue that they have to decide is what are the damages. And this is what the court holds. And so the court holds first that uh, Mr. Lefkowitz accepted the offer and made a contract. Now, notice how this holding is different than the holding in the Pepsi Harrier Jet case. So, in the Pepsi Harrier Jet case, the court found that the advertisement for the Harrier Jet was not a contract offer. And it noted that the general rule is that advertisements are not contract offers. And instead, they are merely offers to negotiate, or what is sometimes called offers to treat. And so the general rule is that when a company advertises, the price of some item that they sell, a customer doesn't necessarily have a right to enforce the advertised price against the merchant. And instead, the advertisement is simply inviting a person to come and make an offer to purchase the item that is advertised. And notably, the reason that the courts generally don't treat advertisements as contract offers is because if they did, the store would have essentially unlimited liability and be on the hook to provide every prospective customer, every person who sees the ad, they would be liable to have to provide them the item that has been advertised. But in this case, the advertisement that the store was making did constitute a contract offer because the offer noted a limited supply. They only said that they had 3 fur coats, 2 scarfs, and 1 stole. And so the liability of the store is limited by the terms of the advertisement. So in this case, it's reasonable to construe the advertisement as a contract offer because the store has stated in the advertisement a limited number of items for sale. And then the additional language of first come, first serve. This tells the public exactly what they have to do in order to make these purchases. That they have to be the first one in line when the store opens, and then they will be able to buy the product. And so this is where the court, notes that there is and definite, a clear and definite offer with nothing left to negotiate. And as to this idea that the contract was revocable at will, or the contract offer, rather, was revocable at will, the court rejects this argument. The court rejects this argument because an offer a contract offer is only revocable before it is accepted. So once a person accepts a contract offer, the offer is no longer revocable. The court says that once Mr. Lefkowitz arrived at the store, and once he was the first to arrive at the store with money in hand, he had accepted the offer and it was no longer revocable. And so the court holds that Lefkowitz had a contract with the great Minneapolis surplus store, and and the Minneapolis surplus store was liable for breach of contract. And so the court turns to the second issue, which was what are the damages? And so you may recall in Lucy versus Zemmer, the court in that case had ordered as a remedy for the breach of contract specific performance, which we noted was the equitable remedy. And you may also recall the our prior discussion that an equitable remedy is only available when there is no adequate remedy at law, which makes this an extraordinary remedy. But in this case, the Mr. Lefkowitz does not desire specific performance, and instead he only desires monetary damages, which is the common law remedy or the legal remedy, and this is the ordinary remedy for civil actions. And so, given that Mr. Lefkowitz is only asking for monetary damages, he does not ask the court to order the Great Minneapolis Surplus Store to provide him the fur coats or the mink scarves, but simply to pay him the value of the items. And so, given that Mr. Lefkowitz was only asking for monetary damages and not specific performance, he simply asked the court to award him the value of the fur coats and the scarves that he missed out on buying. And so, Mr. Lefkowitz points out that the advertisements that were posted in the newspapers said that the fur coats were worth up to $100. And I added up, but in the original advertisement it just said worth to $100, which I took to mean that they were worth up to $100. And then the Black Le Pen stole was advertised to being worth $139.50. And so, what Mr. Lefkowitz basically says is that since the fur coats were being sold for $1 and they were worth $100, I want $99, basically the $100 that the coat was worth, minus the $1 that it was advertised for sale as. That means the value of the contract, which the surplus store breached, was $99. And similarly with the Black Le Pen stole, that was advertised as being worth $139.50 and being sold for $1. This contract was worth $138.50. So in total, Mr. Lefkowitz asked the court to award $99 plus the $138.50, and the court, the Minnesota Supreme Court, ends up saying that this one, the worth up to $100, we are not going to award. And their reason is that since this advertisement only said that the coat was worth up to $100 and not worth $100, that the value of the coat was not established by the advertisement. Mr. Lefkowitz therefore had not proven what this contract was worth, and so he didn't get any damages for this one. But on the Black Lippin stole, the court said that because this advertisement said specifically that the stole was worth $139.50, that here it was he had proven that the value of the contract was $138.50, and so they awarded him these damages for the value of the breached contract. And so Lefkowitz, much like the carbolic smoke ball case, stands for the proposition that when you post an advertisement that is definite, specific, and leaves nothing left open to negotiations, you should expect that the court will hold you to the terms of the advertisement. But now let's think about how the case might have come out differently if the facts were changed. So let's say that the Great Minneapolis Surplus Store makes the same advertisement, and they say arrive at 9 a.m. sharp, $100 fur coats for $1. And it says only 3 in stock. First come, first served. So we've got a clear and definite advertisement for a contract offer. It says exactly what people need to do to accept it. They just have to arrive at the store at 9 a.m. sharp. The first to arrive are the first to be served, so you have to be one of the first 3 in line. And so as people see this advertisement, they end up arriving. Let's say they start arriving at 5 a.m. To take advantage of this deal. So they really want these $100 fur coats for $1. So they arrive at 5 a.m., wait in line, and then as they are waiting, at 8:59 a.m., the store hangs a banner that says offer revoked, no fur coats. And the question is, for all of these people who arrived at the store at 5 a.m. and waited in line for almost 3 hours, have any of them formed a contract with the store? How would this case of Lefkowitz have been different if the store had hung this banner at 8:59 a.m. saying offer revoked?